What's going on, NFL fans? Welcome back to Touchdown Kingdom, the home of all the latest NFL news and content. With NFL free agency in full swing, it's always fun to take a look back at some of the free agent signings that didn't work out. Big names hit the market quite often, since teams might not be able to afford their star players. Players bet on themselves. We've seen it this offseason already with names like Dalton Schultz and CJ Gardner-Johnson taking one-year prove-it deals. Other free agents get massive contracts, and it's a risk for the team signing them. Whether it was injuries or just a drop-off in production, free agency is a gamble. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. In no particular order, let's take a look at some of the worst free agent signings in NFL history. One of the most infamous free agent disasters belonged to the Washington no-names signing defensive tackle Albert Haynesworth in 2009. Washington gave Haynesworth a 7-year, $100 million contract. Haynesworth was arguably the best defensive tackle in the league in Tennessee in years prior, and this contract made him the highest paid at his position at the time. Right away, he had an issue with both Jim Zorn and Mike Shanahan's coaching staff in Washington. After the 2009 season, Haynesworth didn't participate in offseason workouts and showed up to training camp out of shape. In December of 2010, Washington announced Haynesworth wouldn't play the remainder of the season, and he was suspended for, quote, conduct detrimental to the team. In the 2010 season, Haynesworth played just 8 games and had 13 tackles with 2.5 sacks, both a career low. The craziest part of this was that he said he had a larger offer on the table from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but he took a pay cut to play in Washington. Haynesworth would eventually be traded to the Patriots in 2011, and this was marked as one of, if not the worst, free agent signing of all time. DeMarco Murray signed a 5-year, $42 million contract with the Philadelphia Eagles during the 2015 offseason. Murray was coming off a fantastic season with the Cowboys, where he rushed for over 1,800 yards and 13 touchdowns. He led the league in rushing yards, as well as being selected first-team All-Pro. His next season in Philly, however, didn't go so smoothly. The Eagles had originally agreed to terms with Frank Gore, but he changed his mind and went to Indianapolis. Philadelphia needed a replacement for LeSean McCoy, so they went after Murray. He only had a single 100-yard rushing game during the 2015 season, and Murray became frustrated with the Eagles' offensive line. Being deemed a poor fit for the offense, Murray was benched for Darren Sproles in Week 13 of that season and finished the season with just over 700 rushing yards. He was traded the following offseason to the Titans, where he had a much more successful season, but his stint with the Eagles was bad, to say the least. LeVeon Bell had a stellar career with the Steelers. During the 2017 season, he was first-team All-Pro, leading the league with just under 1,300 rushing yards, along with 655 receiving yards and 11 total touchdowns. In 2018, things started to change for Bell. Pittsburgh placed the franchise tag on him, but he refused to sign it and ended up sitting out the entire 2018 season. Bell hit free agency in 2019, where he signed a 4-year, $52.5 million contract with the New York Jets. This contract made him the second highest paid running back in the league. He had a disappointing 2019 season with the team, putting up just 789 rushing yards, 461 receiving yards, and 4 total touchdowns, a major drop-off from previous seasons. In 2020, Bell was put on IR after an injury during the Jets' Week 1 game. After he returned in Week 5, he liked a tweet on Twitter that said the Jets should trade him. Jets head coach Adam Gase was rubbed the wrong way by this, and the team listened. Or at least they tried to. See, New York tried their best to find a trade partner for Bell, but with nobody wanting to trade for him, the Jets released him in October of 2020. Play calling didn't do LeVeon any favors in New York, but his career never really picked back up during his times after with the Chiefs, Ravens, and Buccaneers. The Jets find themselves on this list once again with the contract of cornerback Trumaine Johnson. Jets general manager at the time, Mike Maccagnan, signed Johnson to a 5-year, $72.5 million contract in 2018. This was the biggest contract in NFL history for any player at that position. Injuries occurred, but there weren't really any off-the-field issues with Johnson. He just wasn't good. He played a combined 17 games in 2 years with the team. They cut him with a $12 million dead cap hit just to get him out of there. Needless to say, this one did not work out, and Mike Maccagnan didn't make it too many more seasons as Jets general manager. The Washington no-names gave safety Adam Archuleta a 6-year, $30 million contract in 2006. He only started 7 games at strong safety that year and was actually pretty good on special teams. Washington's defense started to play really poorly against the deep ball, and Archuleta was replaced by Troy Vincent. He was vocal to the team about disliking the way he was used, and he was traded to the Bears the following offseason. Oh, Brock Osweiler, good for you for scamming the Texans. Houston signed Osweiler to a 4-year, $72 million contract in 2016. He was coming off a season in Denver where he threw for 10 touchdowns in just 7 games. In his first year with the Texans, he threw for under 3,000 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions. He was traded to the Browns the year after, along with a second-round pick, so Houston could get rid of him. Not ideal for the Houston Texans. Nick Foles is a Super Bowl champion. The year after leading the Eagles to a Super Bowl, Foles signed a 4-year, $88 million contract with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Foles was poised to be the starter for the Jaguars that year, but in Week 1, suffered a clavicle injury that would keep him out until Week 11. He did well in his return game, with 296 yards and 2 touchdowns with a pick, but after a poor performance in Week 12, he was benched for Mustache Mania himself, Gardner Minshew. Minshew would remain the starter for the rest of the season, and Foles would be traded to the Chicago Bears in 2020. This was a product of a poorly timed injury, but based on how Foles had played during the games he was actually in, it didn't seem like it would have gone very well. The Jaguars signed him to a massive contract off a few good games in the playoffs, and it did not pay off for them. The final signing we'll talk about is wide receiver Kenny Gallade. Gallade was a stud in Detroit, posting back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving seasons in 2018 and 2019. He got hurt in 2020, which made him miss a bunch of games, and he hit free agency in 2021. Gallade signed with the New York Giants on a 4-year, $72 million contract that fell flat on its face. He had just 37 catches for 521 yards and no touchdown catches in 2021, which was bad, but his 2022 season was worse. He was active in just 12 games and had a whopping 6 catches on the season, one being a touchdown in the Giants' last regular season game. His first touchdown with the team came in his last game with the Giants. It wasn't like New York was swimming in receiver talent either. They were relying on undrafted free agents, late-round draft picks, and mediocre veterans to carry their offense, but couldn't get any production out of their $18 million per year receiver. Gallade was released this offseason. We'll see where Gallade goes next, but his stock certainly isn't as high as it once was. Those are some of the worst free agent signings in NFL history. What are some of the worst signings that you can remember? Let us know down in the comments. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to Touchdown Kingdom if you're new here. We appreciate all the support, and we'll see you